You keep telling me to make it, yeah, to the spot where we would stay lit, and finish bottles never wasted, yeah, cause that's where I'm from.
Hello and welcome to an episode of On Campus. I'm your host, Ashley Ching. Today, I'm joined with special guests on behalf of May, which is National Cochlear Awareness Month. We have Jenna, 9 years old, her brother Duncan, and mom Denee. Thank you for coming on the show. You are our first kids here on the studio. Jenna, you have this pretty cool device. It doesn't look like a Bluetooth. What is it? Right by your ear.
A part that I can hear through is a coil, and it's just like whenever I don't want to hear anything, I just take it off, and then and it just like it's like whenever you don't want to hear something, you can just take it off.
Okay, so it helps you hear, but then if you take off the device, then you don't have to hear anything. Do you sometimes get in fights with your brother, Duncan? Do you guys get in fights sometimes? You just don't want to hear each other?
Yeah. So then she takes it off, and we just go and do stuff separately. Sometimes that happens.
Mom, tell me about how this happened. She was born. What's the story behind this?
When Jenna was born, she failed her infant screening, her hearing screening, and at the time, I think it had just been implemented where it was by law. They do it in the state of California. So when they're born, they're tested for their hearing, and she failed her first test. But that's okay because she succeeded later, right? Now she's hearing. But she did fail her infant screening, and then they repeated it 3 times at the hospital when we were there.
Really? 3 times? Why is that?
Because when they first fail, they want to make sure that before they send them to Children's or whatever facility they get sent to, before they send them there, they want to make sure that there's a reason.
Okay.
So, and that it wasn't maybe just a glitch with the test or I don't know. But they tested her 3 times the day that we were there, and then they had us come back 2 weeks later at John Muir.
Okay.
And we tested her again, and she failed that one as well. So we ended up at Children's Hospital in Oakland with her audiologist there, Cold Thirst, out there, and she tested her, and we found out that she was profoundly deaf in her left ear, and she was hard of hearing in her right ear.
Duncan, are you doing some sign language? Is that what you're doing for the camera?
Yeah.
Really? Because that's how you guys communicate, right? You talk with your hands when there's difficulty hearing. Like we were outside earlier, and there was the wind. That can make it difficult with the device to hear things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you all speak sign language, or you all speak sign language.
We do have. Yes, we implemented sign language as soon as we found out she was deaf.
Okay.
My husband and I went and took some classes, and her grandma and grandpa went and took some classes.
I hear it's a pretty, relative to, say, other languages, even Spanish, it can be relatively easy to pick up.
It's a beautiful language. And a lot of the signs are very common, like, if you did milk. It's like like
really?
An udder, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, so some very like what, like but
what?
Eyebrows down, what, but I'm here, is kind of similar too. So there's a lot of signs. It's a lot of facial expression.
Okay.
And she probably threw her first sign out.
Jenna, what has it been like living with deafness? Is that how you would say it? That she lives with cochlear? What's the right terminology?
She's still deaf.
Okay,
no
that's how you say it.
She's still deaf.
Okay. Okay.
But she has the gift of hearing as well.
Yeah.
We made sure that we were being respectful to her language in our home.
And what has it been like? What are some early memories for you that you can remember, kind of like overcoming challenges growing up?
It's really hard to have the surgery, But
you had surgery.
yeah, you have to have like surgery.
Know
And
that.
it just like it's not hard, but it's at nighttime it's really easy for me to sleep, so you wouldn't have to hear like a bunch of noises, dogs barking, or the TV going on.
Yeah, that really distracts.
And it's really easy for me to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really hard at all, but the hard thing is that it keeps getting knocked off. So you have to just
Okay.
pick it up and just put it on.
I see. And what has it been like living with your sister and deafness, Duncan?
When it's like when like if I wanted to talk to her and she was deaf and she couldn't hear, then I would use sign language to communicate with her.
I'd like to see something. I'd like to see a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see it. Go for it.
Take them off.
Jenna.
Oh, wow.
What do you want to say to Jenna?
Why don't you say, it's a lovely day?
Say beautiful. Oh, or you can spell it L-Y.
I don't know how to do Y.
L.
Oh, you can spell them out. You can spell out the words that you
You
want
can
to
say
say.
your spell if you don't
If there's
know.
not a direct
Maybe you could
translation.
say it's a beautiful day today. Yeah. Yeah.
How long did it take you to learn this language?
I went to ASL 1 and I picked up a lot from school with Jenna. And Duncan also went to the same school as Jenna because he was a signer. He'd sign all the time with her, and the school loved that. So she went to kindergarten, and they said, "Can we have him for preschool while she's
Uh-huh.
in kindergarten?" Okay, you know,
Yeah.
and they call it a reverse mainstreamer. What do they call that? I don't know how to sign it even. Reverse mainstreamer.
I've never heard that term. Say,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
A reverse mainstreamer, so he signs and he talks. So he has both languages, and so the kids in the class are signing only, and they use him as an example for speaking.
Okay.
So reverse mainstreaming is taking someone from, for in his case, would take somebody who speaks as an example, but that he can still use the same language that the other kids use in the class.
Got
so
it.
that they
Okay.
understand what he's saying.
Wow.
So he's their example
All right.
for auditory influences. Yeah.
And then even with this, I don't know how to say it, deafness?
Mhm.
Is that I can just say deafness? You've done so many amazing things that I've heard. You've been in commercials for University of California, San Francisco, UCSF. Can you tell us about that?
It was about like me working with my, I don't know how to say it.
Your audiologist.
Yeah, and
She doesn't want to mess up the word.
Precise. That's
with
good.
Sarah. We were working with
yeah,
Sarah.
and then she usually like just like fixes the volume when I get older and older.
Okay.
So
For your hearing, because it can
yeah.
your other ear got a little bit worse when you turned 6,
yeah,
and that happens. Okay. Just like your eyes, you know, the eye condition worsens, maybe one's hearing worsens.
yeah, it's like similar because like you can be blind and you can be like deaf too.
Right.
They call it a progressive hearing loss.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like
So you worked with her for a commercial? You were promoting something specific?
yeah, when we got like when we were heading to go out of the building,
Mm-hmm.
I think the commercial or somebody like came up to us and said, "Can she be in a commercial?" And then Mom told me about it, and then I'm like, "Sure."
Uh-huh. And what did you do in this commercial?
We were doing activities, games, and a bunch of other stuff, like with pizza and...
She doesn't realize when she's being mapped. They call it mapping. So
Mapping?
it's adjusting her her sounds in her cochlear so that she's able to hear better. And the idea is to have her hearing the same in both ears because that newer ear is harder to adjust. For her. So that was the day she goes, they sound the same. It was a very good day.
Oh, that's great.
Like every once a week we go to the to Sarah. It's just like we just go there and she like trying to get my hearing to the same.
Yeah.
And then the last time when I went there, it was like
It's been a little while.
yeah, it's been a while.
We have to go back. I miss you, Sarah.
All right, I'm going to quiz Duncan now. Duncan, what advice do you have for our viewers, for people who may be concerned about cochlear, you said cochlear, what's the term?
Awareness.
Awareness.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for people on that, since this is Cochlear Awareness Month in May? Put you on the spot.
Yeah, what would
Gotta
you want-
focus.
Yeah, what would you want people to know about your sister and her cochlear? What's something that you recognize that maybe you'd want people to know?
I don't really know.
I guess they would be screened at an early age, and even if they're not diagnosed, then they're screened periodically. All children?
Yeah, well, I don't know, not all children.
Because I remember getting, the earmuffs and the testing.
at school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
they
was
do
kind of
it
fun.
At school and at the doctor's office.
Yeah.
But when it's more severe, then they would end up at children's with an audiologist. They put you in a quiet room and...
Those were hard tests. Did you ever take those tests, Duncan? Where you put on the big ear?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say, I think you're pretty lucky. You just have this cool gadget on your ear, and you can still see everything great, and it hasn't stopped you from doing all these awesome hobbies. What do you like to do with all your time?
I like sometimes it's difficult to learn sign language.
Okay.
Because once Duncan had a really difficulty time signing to me, and when we do this thing called prayer, and he had a hard time signing it, and my mom was helping him learn it, and I thought that was really great. People learning sign language.
Yeah, that's true. And I think you're even interested in competing in a future pageant, and this would be a platform that you could bring awareness to. You're thinking about that.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any final words for our viewers?
I don't know.
You don't know, Mom?
Well, do you want me to describe the cochlear a little bit?
Sure,
What it does?
yeah.
Really quickly. Can you, let me see. So when Jenna had her surgery done, she was implanted with an internal processor.
Oh,
And
really?
this is the external processor, and it has 2 microphones in it, and it's just a mini computer.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and
It has a
the
battery.
internal processor has electrodes that are put down into the cochlea, because in most cases you've lost maybe the hair cells in the ear, and this has maybe 22 channels, I believe was the number.
22 channels?
22 channels of hearing, like, I guess, pitch.
Okay, like
Things like that.
volume?
I think it's pitch and
Pitch, okay.
22 different, and the ear has 30,000 hair cells. So if you think about the difference between what that can give and what this gives, so she has a lot of gaps. So some of her most difficult times are, let's say, in the classroom,
Okay.
or anything with like some ambient noise. An air conditioner might run and hum, and she'll hear it amplified to the same sound as our voices, like maybe the same volume, because it can't distinguish what's necessary and what's not necessary for her to hear. So she just hears all the noise at the same volume.
Oh, I see. All
So
right.
it can make it very difficult.
Also, when the ear, it's like a magnet. They
A
connect-
magnet?
Yeah, like the cochlear. And there's another cochlear, which is look like a snail.
Yeah.
It just goes like a snail shell too. It goes out into the snail shell, and then they contact each other, and then the snail, whenever I get information or voices talking to me, it sends it to the brain so I can like think. And
Wow. I had no idea. This is really cool. And how many kids does this affect? How many people does it affect percentage-wise?
So 2 to 3 children are born deaf.
Okay.
Out of 2 to 3 out of 1,000, let's say,
Okay.
are born deaf each year.
All right.
And not each year. But my fact is 2 to 3
Just
kids are
overall.
born deaf out of 1,000. So
Okay.
every 1,000 that are born, 2 to 3 are deaf. So for a long time, it wasn't something that was addressed. For many, many years, 100 years ago, she would have been considered, she needed to be institutionalized because she was, they would call them deaf and dumb at that time, which was a very harsh term.
Way
And,
harsh.
You know, yeah, that's
Totally
a very
unfair.
harsh term. So we know, obviously, how smart they can be. So that term was definitely not accurate. Yes, I've been watching different people on TV who are deaf, very successful.
Yeah.
We have Niall, who won America's Top Model or something, and Dancing with the Stars, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, she really likes him. And I mean, there's a lot of very successful deaf people out there. I was approached in the store by someone who was deaf. I wasn't approached. I approached him, and I talked to him about. I asked him about cochlears and how he felt about them, but I had already had her implanted at the time. And I asked him what he thought, and he really didn't like it. There's a gap here between implanted children and the deaf community. So
Really?
I think that gap is closing. It's still
There's
still
some people
quite
who
wide,
just
but-
don't approve, don't support the device.
Yeah, they feel it's it's an invasive surgery. You know,
Okay.
you're
There's a
cutting into
risk.
the back, that you're attaching something to the skull, you're putting something in the ear.
Right.
So there's probably definitely some risks there. That risks my husband and I felt were worth taking.
Okay.
We did visit the California School for the Deaf in Fremont when she was a baby, just to see the facility, and it's a beautiful facility. And actually, the teacher that we learned our sign language from actually teaches there as well. And we went there, but I can't. Our family unit is so important to us that we felt we need her with us, and
Yeah.
that would be a lot of absent time, either that or require a move, which we were not in the position to do. So we learned more about the cochlear, and that seemed to be the right fit for us in a hearing family with a deaf child.
Okay. Whatever's best for the family. Because, Duncan, how many brothers and sisters do you have? I know you come from a big family, a big, happy family. How many brothers and sisters?
I have 3 brothers
Uh-huh.
and 2 sisters.
Okay, okay. Cool. All right.
How many nephews do you have?
4.
4 nephews. Well, thank you, big, happy family, for coming out and talking to us about cochlear awareness. I had no idea. You're like really cool with the bio thing going on. That's awesome. Thank you, Jenna.
Can I do a quick shout out to, there's
Oh, yeah.
a Million Ear Challenge going on.
Okay, go for it. Yeah.
And I'm not sure, I think it's millionear.com, but it's through the-
Millionear.com.
I believe that's what it's under,
Okay.
but it's under the Cochlear, you could go into the Cochlear America and you can find the Millionaire Challenge is trying to get the word out about cochlear awareness. So.
Great. Okay, thank you. All right, that's our time. Thank you for joining us with On Campus at Solano College Sports Network. Again, I'm your host, Ashley Ching.
If you are interested in a career in sports broadcasting,
whether you're commentating a live game
or hosting your own TV show,
or working behind the scenes, then this is the class for you.
For more information, contact Greg Poff, that's me, at solano.edu.
We hope to see you here next semester, and remember,
it's more than just sports, it's an education.